Welcome to our Gala watch party. We certainly find ourselves in unusual circumstances. I did not expect to attend the Gala from my dining room this year, but today is a day of celebration. We'll sit back and share some stories to celebrate two amazing people, Phyllis Marchand and John Rassweiler. They're our recipients of the Donald B. Jones Conservation Award. Both are bigger than life. They have that rare mix of both kindness and wisdom, and they are truly inspirational people. So like I said, sit back, relax, spend a little time with us this evening. For those of you not familiar with the D&R Greenway Land Trust, we are a nonprofit organization that has been preserving and caring for land for about 30 years. We have a wonderful active board, dedicated staff and volunteers, and a whole bunch of loyal supporters that have been with us for many years, that have shared in our vision. And I'm really grateful and appreciative of the D&R family. Our door's always open, so any of you out there that want to get involved, certainly give us a call. I really do miss being together, but our mission goes on, and hopefully that we're broadcasting on cable TV, we'll be able to get more people interested in preservation and conservation. To that end, I'd like to thank Princeton TV for giving us this opportunity. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for this evening, sharing it with us and your donations. We have two projects that we would like to use the proceeds towards. One is a new meadow at St. Michael's Orphanage at St. Michael's Preserve, and the other is a restoration project in the Sourlands. So to those of you at home, sorry you had to cook your own appetizers this year, but we will make up for it next year. I would like to now turn this over to our President and CEO, Linda Mead. Linda has been with us for 23 years. It is her vision and her energy and her commitment that has led to many of our preservation successes. Thank everybody, and best wishes to all.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Mead. We're surrounded today by Greenway Meadows Park in Princeton, and I'm the president and CEO of D&R Greenway Land Trust. D&R Greenway is celebrating its 31st year this year and the 25th anniversary of our annual Donald B. Jones Conservation Award. D&R Greenway was founded to protect water quality in the Delaware and Raritan Canal and all the stream tributaries that flow into the canal and give us water that we drink and water that sustains our life. That's why we protect land for life. And over the past 31 years, we have preserved 21,000 acres of land. Today, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Donald B. Jones Award by commemorating two very important people that have been active right here in this community for 25 years and more. So John Rassweiler joined the D&R Greenway in 1994. In 1995, we had our first Donald B. Jones Award. And what is that? Donald B. Jones was a visionary. He lived in Surgentsville, New Jersey, and he worked tirelessly to preserve the covered bridges, the historic structures, and the landscape around the D&R Canal. And in his honor, every year, we give an award, the Donald B. Jones Award, and what that is a beautiful plate. And I want to share this with you. So this is the design of the Donald B. Jones Award, and you can see on this plate, you see the water, the blue water that is on the plate, and that commemorates the D&R Canal and all the streams that flow through our region. In the center, you see the leaf, which is the symbol of D&R Greenway. And all around it, what you see are some beautiful landscapes. Every year, our artist, Christina Rang, paints this plate specifically for the people that are receiving the award. This year, we have two people, John and Phyllis Marchand. And so when they receive their awards in person, they will receive an award that shows landscapes that they've helped protect, including the Johnson Education Center itself. And for John, he'll have depictions of the Sourlands and the Stony Brook and St. Michael's Farm Preserve. For Phyllis, she will have the JEC, St. Michael's Farm Preserve, Greenway Meadows, and Farmview Fields and Coventry Farm on the Great Road, which she preserved when she was mayor of Princeton. When this worldwide pandemic ends, and it will, because as my mother says, this too shall pass, we will all come together in the fall and we'll be able to celebrate and talk to these people in person. For now, I'm going to ask you to join me in a virtual toast to Phyllis and John. And so, I have 2 glasses, one for me, one for you. So get out your glass, get out your favorite beverage, and I'm going to pop some champagne. Okay, for Phyllis and John, here we go. Do you have your glass? Phyllis and John, this one's for you. Woo! Okay. Take your glass like I'm about to do. And let's pour a little something. And I'm going to make the first toast. So please hold up your glass with me. And the first one to Phyllis Marchand and Marchand Meadows at St. Michael's Farm Preserve. To your flair, to your inspiration, to being green. We love you, Phyllis. Cheers.
When I was growing up right in the heart of the city, I was fortunate enough to spend my summers in Maine at a girls' camp. Really instilled the love of nature and the opportunities that nature gave you. My key highlights in my career was I was a book indexer, and then I got into politics when I moved into Princeton. My children were in school, and I was asked to run for office.
I first met Phyllis when she was mayor of Princeton Township. Everybody in the region knows Phyllis Marchand. First of all, she's a consummate politician. Phyllis has a way of doing things so that every person involved, every partner, feels that they have contributed something and gotten something back from it.
She was a joy to have as a mayor. All the township employees really recognized that, and Phyllis deserves a huge amount of credit for being receptive to the concept of more open space acquisition and more recreation fields.
I started running my first marathon. I was 42 years old. And so for anyone who is interested, it's never too late.
Phyllis could run a long marathon and keep it up and build her stamina. That's the way Phyllis approaches everything. When everybody else has given up, Phyllis is still running.
Phyllis is an inspirational leader. She was mayor of Princeton for 14 years, 22 years on the town council. When she stepped down, she stepped up to become a trustee of D&R Greenway, and she chaired our board and co-chaired our Land for Life campaign.
One of the parcels that she helped to preserve is the parcel of land where D&R Greenway has its headquarters now. Without Phyllis's support, there might not be the Johnson Education Center as we know it today.
One of the big projects that I was involved in the beginning was the Greenway Meadows. The Johnson family had had an estate on there. The land had been sold. It was going to be developed. And there was an opportunity for the D&R Greenway to get involved and try to save that land. And every time I drive by and I see the soccer fields that are there, I see the barn, and the poetry trail is my my savior, actually. When I just finished my chemotherapy, one of the first things I did was to go and walk on the poetry trail. It's peaceful, it's different, it's a marvelous asset for our community. The Coventry Farms project was probably one of the most important to me because it showed the need for us to have a revolving fund that will give us the peace of mind and the financial ability to buy properties as soon as they come on the market so that we can continue with this mission.
We couldn't think of a more fitting tribute to Phyllis than to create a gorgeous wildflower pollinator meadow at our St. Michael's Farm Preserve. The preserve that happened when Phyllis joined our board.
Phyllis Marchand Meadow at the St. Michael's Farm Preserve will be planting a variety of native wildflowers as well as grasses to support the ecosystem. We'll be planting little bluestem grass, which supports a variety of birds, actually. We'll also be planting milkweed, which of course everyone knows supports the monarch butterfly. We'll also be planting a native woodland sunflower as well as native wild bergamot.
Very humbling, certainly, to have something like that, have your name on it. I'm honored, and what I hope is that more people will go and look at all the properties that we have saved.
Phyllis is the best spokesperson I know to talk about healing and nature. Being outdoors in the sunshine, being able to soak in the qualities of the trees, the sky, the fresh air, and how that makes a person feel.
I find that nature and being outside on a beautiful day is the best prescription that you can have.
And Phyllis believes that land preservation is important, not just for people who are alive today, but for our children, our grandchildren, and our grandchildren's children.
The spirituality is exactly what nature is to me. Nature inspires you to understand that there's something greater than us here in this world. So it's critical right now for us to be advocating for the preservation of open space, paying attention to everything that we can that will help us leave this world a better place.
And now for John. John, to John Rassweiler and Rassweiler Restoration Forest, to your strength, to your wisdom, to your focus that keeps us on the path to preservation. Cheers, John.
As a teenager, I went with my family to a place in the Pocono Mountains with a lovely lake and a superb trout stream and 4,000 acres of protected land full of trails. I have long been concerned about the disappearance of open space. In New Jersey, it's come almost to the end. We were always concerned about what the preserved land 100 years from now would do for the community. I had a considerable background in land conservation, in forestry, so I thought I would go to D&R Greenway, called them up and introduced myself and said I would like to volunteer.
So one of the first people I met here at D&R Greenway was John Rassweiler, almost 25 years ago. As a businessman, he has a very sharp focus. He understands, with an organization like D&R Greenway, not just the core work we do, but also the business of the work we do.
I've done everything for D&R Greenway I can think of. Part of my job was to be sure that the property that we were conserving was properly defined with a map. My first work was to go onto the property with whatever usually hazy town maps, which were 100 years old. And then using a compass and a 100-foot tape, tried to track down the actual original lines.
We were a young organization in a little Sears Roebuck cottage with 5 staff. We really counted on John because he did maps for us. He even did the first computerized maps that we ever did.
As he was involved with mapping and trying to figure out how to accurately represent the real landscape on a map, he just became more and more engaged with all the different important pieces of the landscape. What I remember most about my dad is just his excitement in all these different topics.
But he served on the board at a time when we were developing our governance processes, when we were developing a standard of what it meant to be a D&R Greenway trustee.
John took up a very important leadership role as the keeper of the strategic vision and the business plan that would be clear, that would be focused, and that would keep D&R Greenway on track on the pathway to preservation.
The Johnson family owned a piece of property on Rosedale Road in Princeton. It was about 60 acres, and we felt that this ought to be preserved land. First of all, we took 6 acres and built our headquarters there, so D&R Greenway Land Trust. On the far side of the building, you will find playing fields, so we convinced the town to buy into the playing fields. And on the other side is Greenway Meadows, which is 40 acres of open trails. Subsequently, we added 14 acres on the other side of the road, which is now part of the Johnson School, and they use the woods for research and exercise. So that was a big one. Obviously, the D&R Greenway Land Trust building has proved to be a great success.
John was a huge part of the Recreation Board. He brought a business procedures priority to the Recreation Board and to the Recreation Department that was invaluable. Being a recreation department that was in desperate need of playing fields, and John and I spent a fair amount of time trudging through different parcels of property in Princeton, trying to figure out how on earth we could get access to additional field space for the programs that we ran.
One of the things that fascinates me about John is that he's a combination, part scholar, part preservationist, part historian.
John has always loved forests. When I think of him, I think of our walk in the Sourlands. I think about the tree farm that he has in Vermont, where he's preserved many acres of land, and how he really has enjoyed, with land stewardship, being able to help us create bird habitat and trails through the forests. Creating the Rassweiler Restoration Forest is a fitting tribute as a place that people can go to think about and be inspired by John's work.
There's a over 1 acre gap in our forest on this preserve, and by putting in native trees and shrubs, we're actually recreating a native forest to support the ecosystem, including the birds and the insects and the other wildlife that are supposed to thrive here.
John knew so much about land preservation. He seemed to know every parcel of land in the details of the acquisition and the stewardship of that land. And I thought, if I could only learn half of what John Rassweiler knows, then I could be an effective trustee.
It's been a great 25 years, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think they appreciate what I've done for them.
And he really just wants to be sure those beautiful places are preserved so that every generation can benefit from them.
I want to congratulate Phyllis and John on this wonderful honor, well deserved. We're so thankful for the work that you've done for Princeton over the years and for the work of D&R Greenway, especially in this era of COVID where we're trapped in our homes. The outdoors are such a solace, and we are so lucky in Princeton to have so many beautiful places to go to enjoy the outdoors. And that's in large part to your work and the work of D&R Greenway. So thank you and congratulations on this honor.
So today we are bestowing a special Community Conservation Award. This is something new that D&R Greenway does not always do, but we do it when there's a special circumstance and when somebody really steps forward and does something that is unique and powerful. And so what I'm holding here is a little prototype of the award that will be bestowed on the family and friends of Michael Snyder, who created the Iron Mike Trail. And the leaf, which is reminiscent of D&R Greenway's leaf, is something that we used on the kiosk as you enter the trail. The trail has a beautiful leaf with a picture of a man walking a dog. And the reason for that is that Michael Snyder loved to walk right here at Greenway Meadows Park. He was a runner, he was a walker, and every day he would bring his 2 dogs and he would walk right here in Greenway Meadows. And so when he passed away suddenly a year ago, his family came to us and wanted to create a special place in his honor where they could go out in nature that he loved and remember him. And they created a trail. And what's really interesting about that is they not only had the vision to create this and create a gift to the community, but they also had the wherewithal to bring together a large group of friends who all came out and helped build the trail and who have committed to an annual trail day here at D&R Greenway, where they will take care of the Iron Mike Trail and make sure that it continues to be an important resource for the community. D&R Greenway, in our 31 years, has preserved lands in the Sourland Mountains in central New Jersey, in the Abbott Marshlands just outside of Trenton, New Jersey. We've preserved land in the Garden Basket of the Garden State in South Jersey and Salem County. Most of our work is done right here in central New Jersey, and we have preserved farms, fields, stream corridors, beautiful areas that have turned into parks where people walk every single day. We invite you to come to our website, drgreenway.org. That looks like drgreenway.org. And when you're there, you'll be able to explore some of our preserves. You will see the land for life that we've protected. You'll be able to watch some of our videos, and you'll be able to learn about the art exhibits that we have here that are all themed to nature and caring for the environment. You'll be able to find out about thought-provoking lectures and programs and walks on our preserves that are throughout the region. There are so many little-known places that we have preserved. And with the help of our donors, we do that every single day. And we make sure that those lands that we're preserving are well cared for, that they have habitats that support the birds that have been so disappearing in the area, although I hear them today. As we come into spring, the birds are out and about, and they are coming back to these habitats that are so critical to them, so critical for preservation. Thank you for being with us. Remember, our open space is open. We hope you'll join us. During this pandemic, enjoy yourself in our outdoors, and afterwards, come to the Johnson Education Center. Come on in, see the beautiful art on the walls, come to a program, a lecture, a walk on our properties, because we're all on the same team, and together, you're helping us preserve open space and make it available for free to all the people that you see walking through this park today. Cheers.
As we start our 4th decade of preserving and caring for our land, we never expected to be confronted with the realities of a viral pandemic. We also couldn't have imagined the important role that we would play in the mandatory stay-at-home scenario. And by doing everything possible we could to keep open our preserves and our trails, and to relay the message that our open space is still open. The response was and continues to be inspiring. Our neighbors near and far have reached out to tell us just how much they've appreciated the preserves and the ability to get out in nature and to break away, and just how much comfort it has brought them. And by the way, the social distancing guidelines have been understood and respected on the trails. We are grateful for Princeton TV for making this event available to everyone in the community and beyond via webcast. Our sponsors and ticket holders will be moving over to a Zoom platform in a few minutes for an after-party special. Princeton TV, however, will continue its presentation by showing the rest of the viewers 3 short videos telling the story of land preservation projects. So they're really interesting and meaningful projects, and I encourage you all to stay around and sit back and enjoy them. I think you'll get a sense of why we do what we do. We understand that this is a time when there are many requests for financial contributions. Immediate concerns of the community are great. At the same time, those of us in land preservation understand the importance of long-term planning. If you can afford to give both for short and long-term needs, we hope that you would consider D&R Greenway. Already, our long-term supporters and new supporters have stepped up to help us move our legacy work forward, even during these uncertain times. Individual commitments to our work inspire us, like the challenge gift brought from Vanessa Sandum and her husband, Carl Seiden, to help us meet our Greenway goal. This concludes our main program for today. Please watch for a few more minutes as we recognize our event sponsors. And then stay on for our 3 preservation stories. Meanwhile, our sponsors and ticket holders will move over to a Zoom platform for a live event. I would like to end with a phrase that is very popular in our land trust community, and that is land for life. It is more meaningful today than ever. Thank you.
D&R Greenway is 30 years old this year. And what's really exciting is to see how it has evolved over those 30 years, from in the beginning being all about acres. How many acres could we preserve? We're still about that, but we're also about how does the community interact with those acres? What are the stories we can tell about those acres?
When I think back, good 4 or 5 years ago, when Elaine and I met with Caroline Catman, and we said, you know, we have this vision, and it may sound like this wild idea, but you know that little church on Hollow Road, that should be a museum.
We think that this project is so important because it focuses on the African American presence in Hopewell Valley, Somerset County, and surrounding areas. And we found out that the people that we've known all of our lives are descendants of the founding African American families from this region.
This is exactly what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of people. It's going to take everyone, actually.
SAM, which is short for Stoutsburg Sauerland African American Museum, and the D&R Greenway, and then Montgomery Open Space. All three of us got together and we purchased land next door to the church so that we can build an education and cultural center and put more of our artifacts. We'll have offices, and we'll be able to work together as a group to just leave a legacy of the history of the African American presence.
And who would have thought that, 4 or 5 years later, that we'd be sitting here talking about receiving a grant from the Somerset Cultural and Heritage Commission of $326,000, talking about a private donation from one of the descendants of the Trueheart family, one of the family that donated the land for the church to be on, $100,000. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about this? And along with the D&R Greenway, that was just remarkable. Their expertise in land preservation helped us with the purchase, and helped us to realize, as far as expanding and having a campus and being able to erect a cultural and educational center was not going to be possible without the help of the D&R Greenway, and that was a phenomenal turning point.
We were able to pull together the preservation of 2 small parcels of land so that the Stoutsburg Sauerland African American Museum will have a home, and the Sauerlands Conservancy will have a headquarters right in the Sauerlands from which to do their work. It was the perfect example of a nonprofit collaboration and partnership. None of this would have happened without Elaine and Bev. Elaine and Bev, who wrote the book, If These Stones Could Talk, took their personal passion and turned it into stewardship of the land and stewardship of the community. They're the heroes. Route 206 is a major highway, but when you drive up and down 206 in Montgomery, there is one place that lets you know where you are, and it's the Matthews Farm. Those iconic red barns on the landscape are a community treasure. It is the place that takes you beyond just a drive up a busy road to the agricultural heritage of this community. It was such an honor to work with the former mayor of Montgomery and to be able to preserve Don and Pat's land and make sure that that farm that has been so important to this community will remain on that landscape forever.
My dad was a farmer complete, and he was really a dairy farmer. He loved cows, and I was more of a land farmer. I wanted to be out on a tractor, working the ground and watching the furrow turn and smell the earth and all those things which sound romantic, and they are. I guess that we never thought of it not being a farm. We never thought of losing the barn. We never thought of living anywhere else at any time in our, 67 years.
Going to open the barn.
And we had also, of course, wondered about the value, and Don had approached a realtor, and one day we were sitting on the patio and he said to me, should I call the realtor? And I said, you mean now? And he said, yeah. I said, if you take me away from this place, I might as well die. This is my little piece of heaven here.
Of course, when I first got involved with the town and township committee, I ran on that idea in 1982. I've had all green signs, and I'm way ahead of my time, I think, that we have to preserve Montgomery's past, and it's worked out well.
D&R Greenway brought some unique expertise to the preservation of the Matthews farm. We worked with Wade Martin, a financial advisor, and sat down at the kitchen table with Don and Pat Matthews and figured out how to meet their goals for their big family of children and grandchildren, and be able to come out of this in a way that they reached all their financial goals and at the same time reached their land preservation goals.
It's a great organization. Hopefully they'll keep growing and find more people that see the advantage of working with them. My granddaughter is living in the other house, and she has 3 children. They are learning what the farm is because they're out and about all the time. The grandchildren, imagine 5 grandchildren, they all live within 4 miles, and they're raising their 8 great-grandchildren. They feel totally connected to this farm, there's no question. And it is amazing when you think about it.
When the community members came to me and said, there's this really important piece of land that we want to preserve that goes all the way back to the American Revolution, I said, you know, who owns that property? I know him. Let me give him a call. And that really led to a cooperative partnership.
The path you see behind me is a carriage path, and also ties into the Steel Gap Road, which is recognized as the Washington Rochambeau National Trail. This path leads to the Wimple estate that we preserved, to a spring head, and to a foundation which we've identified as the Steele's Tavern. Bob Vaucher, who was a World War II veteran, was part of our group, and Bob pretty much initiated the support of the community to preserve this land.
We found an actual piece of paper that George Washington wrote on and declared that 2,000 troops from the other side of Middlebrook would be transferred over to here. And it had a spring, which was very important. So we believed that the encampment was on this property. Then we got somebody from the Rochambeau Trail Foundation, came here and surveyed it and said he would testify that Rochambeau's troops camped here on the way to Yorktown for the final battle of the Revolution.
This is the petition that we created, and it just emphasized how important this property, this parcel was to our community.
My daughter actually went around to the various lunch periods and told the story about the development that was being proposed on this historic piece of land, and actually she wound up getting roughly 400 signatures.
So I was in about 4th grade, and I was 9 or 10, and I told them that this land was a really important part of our town's history, and that it meant a lot to me and the community if it was saved.
We wound up contacting several nonprofits like D&R Greenway and the Crossroads of the American Revolution, and they were instrumental in helping mentor and guide us on ways to actually help raise money, who we needed to contact, etc.
Dave Stempian and Brendan Burns lived right nearby the Wemple property, and they kept things going.
But I explained how important the land was to the community and that their help would mean so much, that they could help save the land. And I feel proud that I was a part of it.
Thank you so much, D&R Greenway.